I don't really want to cover internet stuff since I really want to keep all my critiques and videos off of commercial properties, where it's a lot more fair to discuss things with a professional studio's output than just people on the internet with limited budget, time, or skill. But I do want to make an exception here. Now, I will admit, I don't really watch that much indie animation. I mean, I freaking love Gwen Saga, haven't caught up with Ruby in freaking forever. I watched the Has-Been Hotel pilot, so I'm not calling myself an expert on it. But the Amazing Digital Circus is something I really feel I should talk about and its potential. Yeah, I know I'm over a month late, but this came out when I was getting ready for my Mario Wonder review, which is one of my most ambitious projects that I was putting a lot to. And everyone saw it. Okay, seriously, please watch, I worked really hard on it. So yeah, after that I thought it was too late and might as well move on to my other planned videos. But before we go into Christmas, I think it's time I finally do. And maybe it's a good thing because now I have plenty of hindsight on it as well, and it's still stirring up quite a bit of buzz and anticipation, and everyone want to talk and appreciate the pilot and what it can do for indie animation. The Amazing Digital Circus was produced by Glitch, who also made the Murder Drone series, which I never saw. But I do know it was made by Liam Vickers, who also made the Cliffside pilot, which I really liked. But Digital Circus was created by the amazing Gooseworks, who is an amazing artist, animator, and musician, who makes some of the trippiest animations I've seen on YouTube, so it really should be no surprise with how Digital Circus came out. The Amazing Digital Circus is about a virtual world of, well, a giant digital circus, which has people in the form of avatars after they apparently put on some headset where they are fully conscious but have no way of getting out. The circus world is controlled by an AI named Kane, who can do anything in the world except directly affect the players' minds, and use it to put on adventures or affect the world in some ways. The story is about a newcomer to the world whose lair named Pomni, since everyone forgets their original memories before they got into the circus. She is terrified and desperately wants to leave, but the other various players tell her she can't, as Kane puts on a new adventure to welcome to the circus, as Pomni is desperate to find an exit. And we also see that if you go insane in the circus, your entire body will corrupt into a giant feral glitch abomination attacking anything they see. Yeah. I wouldn't quite say it's a horror or even entirely creepy, but it does have a very healthy amount of existential dread that does add a lot of intensity and psychological horror, done in a way I really haven't seen before. It's still very lighthearted, funny, goofy, and trippy as hell. Which, yeah, is pretty much a Gooseworks staple, and to me, did a fantastic job of streamlining her style into more of a narrative. I think that's why it gained such an audience so quickly. You have a world that's bright, colorful, fun, and goofy, and we want to see more and filled with various fun and interesting characters, but also having an edge to it as well to keep you on your toes and add more conflict and intensity with some horror aspects. I think the internet loves this stuff. Like, I think it's also why something like Undertale got such a huge following, but let's just talk about the characters since they're just as important. Time to talk about Pomni. As the newcomer to the world, she doesn't have too much time to really show her true nature, but I do feel the show continues, it could develop her more. She's very nervous and anxious as all this is entirely new to her. She offsets the insanity around her with very fair reactions, and she's almost always in a nervous pose, like she's always terrified of her surroundings. Her eyes are also huge, which makes her seem vulnerable as well, like a scared puppy dog, but also makes her one of the most expressive characters. I also freaking love her design so much. I love her adorable little jester outfit and her soft-spoken voice. She's probably the most boring character, but the story needs her to be. And then there's Kane, the ringmaster of the circus. And as such, he is insanely charismatic, high energy, loud, and talkative, exactly like a carnival barker trying to get everyone's attention. He's a very fun and funny character with his mood swings and manic nature. He's the guy responsible for changing the game world, and his assistant Bubble, who's just a chaotic gremlin. Though it's interesting how he gets mad at them a lot, even though he should theoretically control them. Though it could just be a zany act programmed into him like a gag, though it might imply more. Now he is stated to be an antagonist, which is technically true as he does create conflicts through his adventures. And Gooseworks does say he doesn't really get human emotions as an AI. I got the feeling that he genuinely doesn't know how to get the players out of the game, which I really hope is true because I find it much more interesting that such a character is trying his best to help the players and deal with the horrible situations in his own way than just he can help them but just chooses not to. But he is definitely hiding some stuff.
Now what the heck happened around here? Oh yeah, my doing.
I also freaking love his design. Of course, the talkative ringmaster design is integrated as literally a pair of disembodied jaws with insane eyeballs. It's great. And my god, the animation on him. I don't know how they managed to make somewhat accurate lip sync with him and also animate his jaws to be expressive at the same time. Like, I want to applaud the animators, it must not be easy. Next, we'll talk about Ragatha. Ragatha is probably the most normal character. She's very friendly and lovable, and is the first to really help Pomni after she's panicking about her situation. She's charismatic and very sympathetic to Pomni, trying to help her out as best he can and comfort her. It feels like Ragatha was probably the newest, or at least one of the most recent people to end up in the circus, which is probably why she's still sympathetic to Pomni. Though yeah, one scene shows that underneath she's pretty much cracking just as much as Pomni. But she's still really sweet and lovable, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the full series, if she and Pomni become really close. Though from this scene it looks like it might actually be strained. As someone who's supposed to be sweet and soft and comforting, it's great they made her a literal living doll to sell it. Jax is another big character personality-wise and in the fandom. He's pretty much the bully. Smug, condescending, snarky, cynical, and apathetic. He likes to make plenty of jokes at other people's expense and even kind of bully Pomni in a way, making fun of the way she's trying to persuade herself that this is a dream. I gotta say, it's really easy to hate a character like this, but he has enough charisma and funny moments to still make him likable. He doesn't really take it too far, except for when he shoves Gangle through the ground for no reason. Not cool, dude. He's played great by Michael Kovac, who also played Angel Dust in Hazbin Hotel. But I like Jax much more to see his actual dialogue instead of constantly making sex and drug references every second. He is definitely the one who seems the most sane, at least in terms of cracking, but it seems like he bullies everyone else as a coping mechanism, possibly to distract himself or to gain some element of control, which could be interesting to see expanded later. I also love how they always animate him with a big grin and he never opens his mouth. Plus, he has really great cartoonist and springy movements. His mischievous and troublemaking personality as well as his high and manic animation work perfectly with his designs like a 30s cartoon character. Zooble is one who unfortunately doesn't have a lot to her, mostly because he's written on the plot so early. What we do see so far is that she's written to be very apathetic, indifferent, and just kind of annoyed by everything, especially Jax. They don't seem to care about anyone else, even Pomni that much, as they don't seem to like Kane's adventures, just finding them annoying. It's really how her avatar being such a mismatch of design is actually deconstructible in the game world, to a point where their entire body can be separated and then pretty much immobile. Which makes me concerned about this game and how unlucky you can be with their avatar. But yeah, I love her design as it contrasts to her personality, as such a loud and zany body works against her apathetic nature. Gangle feels very similar to Pomni, being very nervous, anxious, and sad. Though unlike Pomni, they have a quiet and silent type of anxiety, where it's like they come much more to terms with their situation and sadness than them, like a kind of depression. They feel it sound very young to me. I wonder what the mask does for her, if it actually changes how they feel, if it's some type of coping mechanism to pretend to be happy. I wonder what the point of I am not going there. I actually really wish Pomni and Harry got to interact. I wonder how well they get along together. I love her ribbon body, and it really does physically show her vulnerability and frailness. Kinger is an interesting one, as he's the most crazy out of all of them, aside from like Kane. He's not much of a manic crazy, but more of a schizophrenic way of being extremely paranoid, distracted, and socially awkward. It's interesting that he says that he's been here the longest, which means how much he's lost it in his time in the circus. But really think about that. He's not the oldest, he's just here the longest out of all of them, which I'll get to later. Though we see what seems to be a female king in one of the marked out dorms, implying he might have had a partner with him that abstracted and could have led to his insanity. There's really a lot you can pick up in the show, and it might imply there's more to Kinger that he won't admit or doesn't want to remember. He's still pretty enjoyable and funny with his actions, lines, and mannerisms, even though there's an implied tragedy here too.
Oh, thank God you're okay. You didn't experience a game show in there, did you?
Nah, it's a different Gooseworks animation. His design is interesting not only for his buggy eyes emphasizing his nature, but also his king-like status and be emblematic that he's the oldest of the players, making him a mad king in a way. Though, back to the plot, Pomni goes with Ragatha and Jax to find the last player, Coffin with a Clown, who has not left his room after seeing an exit door like Pomni did when she first arrived. We do see the consequences going insane and reaching her breaking point, as Coffin turned into a corrupted glitch monster going feral and attacking everything he sees. But we also see this actually corrupts the players too by contact and seemingly causing actual pain. So they already introduced new rules and concepts that could be expanded upon, the fate of losing your sanity and the corruption just by contact. It's also neat since you never expect legitimate action in the pilot, but here it is and it's actually intense. Ragatha says that Kane is the only one who can stop Kaufman and fix the corruption. It's also one of Pomni's more prominent characterization roles, as she's sorry for running away and tries her best to help Ragatha by finding Kane.
I didn't know what to do. Anything. Just hang in there. I'll be right back. I promise. Well, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna go get Kane now.
Even though she's completely unfamiliar with the world, and her isolation and the ever-increasing creep factor of the world and the threats, and the unexplained doors help to make the show feel unsettling in a way, and not as silly as it first seems. Though I feel it's a good point to talk about the animation. It's really fantastic. It somehow has the same feeling of modern CG animation, but also replicated that old CGI you might see in older video games or cartoons. When I first saw it, I just thought of Jimmy Neutron, but in the best way possible. The animation is super expressive and bouncy, which is really impressive with CG. It's really hard to get that level of squats and stretch with the 3D models, and they did a great job making it still feel like a CG cartoon, especially in the character expressions. I'm really impressed by how they do these in for an indie project. Though the great Kevin Temmer was the lead animator, and he's amazing at 3D characters moving like 2D ones. Though, not to discredit all the other amazing animators on the project as well, you all did great. The environmental design is great too, again stealing that old CG game look while still being visually interesting and detailed, especially a lot of the interior shots, and have great lighting and shading as well. It's so good looking and colorful. Meanwhile, Jax, Gangle, and King are a part of an adventure Kane made to get rid of these shaped creatures called Gloinks that disassembled Zooble. Though Jax couldn't care less and just joined to get away from the monster Kaufmo. They do find the Gloink Queen, with a very nice weird Beetlejuice inspired design. It's also great how the pilot introduces the house adventures that can literally be any type of scenario, so there's infinite possibilities for future storytelling, which is something that's really important for pilots to sell the show. But we also get this moment of Pomni Flame from Kaufmo, where it really sells how lost and vulnerable she is, looking at her new body in the mirror before finding an exit door as she follows through trying to find a way out. There it takes her to an office room. It's really weird. It has an eerie atmosphere like the back rooms of the Stanley Parable if you didn't have the narrator. Though the offices are a labyrinth of never-ending doorways, each leading to a new empty office room, and it really reads that existential horror the show has. I mean, come on, we've all had nightmares like this, stuck in a weird empty place with no way out, but at least we will wake up. She never will. We get to see Pomni getting more frustrated and breaking down like anyone would in this scenario. It's really tense in a way, where you wonder how she's gonna get out of there. Though she notices one computer which must have significance, but we don't exactly know yet, foreshadowing important events later. We see the company seems to be named C&A, as it looks like they're responsible for the Digital Circus, but why would they digitize their offices? But Pomni finally breaks out and finds herself in the Void, the area outside of the Digital Circus grounds that has almost a 2001 Space Odyssey effect on her that seems to be breaking her mind. Though Kay notices that she's in the Void as he teleports to get them out of there, and takes them back to the circus as Pomni's not doing so hot. And with Kane back, he deals with Kaufman by stealing him away in the cellar, in a dark room where we see other multiple abstractive entities in it. Which is super dark and messed up, like think about it. Kingo was said to be here the longest, not that he's the oldest, and he's near his breaking point. This is not a possibility, it's an inevitability. Every character here will eventually break down and abstract and become a mindless monster and practical death. Hell, it's a fate worse than death, so you can't die and end your suffering. Your face go insane in a dark room with no other way out for all eternity. And if everyone here doesn't find a way out, they all will be in there. When I say there's existential horror, I mean it. It really does add extra conflict as well as serious stakes and an ambiguous time limit for the characters you can use in the plot moving on. Kane also heals Ragatha for her corruption, which doesn't imply that Kane has control over their physical avatars or at least fixed glitches, though remember, he can affect their mind, so abstraction is something he seemingly can't fix. Also, Pomni's hand got infected when she touched corrupted Ragatha, and it stayed throughout her journey through the offices and the Void, but really once Kane brought her back she was cured, though Kane seemingly didn't do anything to do it, and they do point out, so I wonder what's going on here. Kane seemingly confirms the exits were just placed there that only lead to the Void, so he hasn't actually put anything in there yet.
But, I was having so much trouble figuring out what to put on the other side and ended up never quite finishing it.
Story of my life, bro. Though he could just be lying through his massive teeth, but with him it's hard to tell. He offers them a reward of a low poly feast, though technically they can't even eat, but just give off the virtual sensation of eating. Though Pomni doesn't say a word, she just stares out into space. She hasn't said anything she was calling out to Kane. But after everything she's been through, I can't blame her. It's just so overwhelming to her that she can't respond. And the music just amplifies, and man, can I say the soundtrack is freaking incredible? The theme song is catchy as hell, the Kaufmo Chase music is heart-pounding, the Void music is awe-inspiring, and the last song, Welcome to Your New Home, is just incredibly orchestrated and amazing, but I expect no less from Gooseworks. And Welcome Home is the most appropriate thing as Pomni's stuck in the Digital Circus and she realizes it. She breaks an insane smile out of pressure, insanity, acceptance, trying to force her to be happy so it's an abstract? Who knows, as the circus act comes to an end. Now, I thought that was a fantastic pilot in both my enjoyment and the actual qualities of it. The setup is great and so enjoyable how the events played out, and how great and fun the characters are, plus that interesting enough set pieces and mystery to keep you engaged and worrying about the true lore of the world if the characters can get out. But I also think it's fantastic as a pilot. The goal of a pilot is to sell a studio or even an audience on a show and best show off the premise, characters, and how the show would work in a show format. Many pilots try and do as much as they can, making introductions to the world and characters, but also balancing it with what to expect. Like, take the Has Been Hotel pilot for example, which yeah, it's pointless to the basis it did actually get picked up, but regardless, while it did sell the series and the angle and the characters to a degree, I wasn't really sold on it since I couldn't really see what they were going to do in each episode. Like they want to get the hotel off the ground and the end goal, but how are they going to do it? What conflicts could arise? What storylines? That's an issue a lot of pilots face, but the Amazing Digital Circus managed to do all of it at once very well. You get introduced to the characters, world, just the general story and rules, but also clearly shows how a normal episode could work through use of the adventure storylines, where literally anything can happen. It's a narrative dream. We also get our overlying plotline, hints to a larger lore and mystery, and a big angle with a ticking clock essentially. Like you can get it and you can do pretty much anything here, and that's amazing for just one 25-minute pilot. I think it helps as to why it's grown to the following in such a short amount of time. People can really understand it and latch onto it, and it really sparks so much imagination, investment, and possibilities. And it seems to be getting a very positive reception by so many people. The only other indie animation I've seen that's gotten as big attention as it is Has Been Hotel, and that one has a mixed at best reputation, with a lot of people not liking it for its characters, designs, and especially the writing, which yeah, I can honestly agree that I didn't like it that much. And Digital Circus got such a big crowd in such a short amount of time, and I haven't really seen many people complain about it. The most I have seen is like in the fandom of how much Rule 34 and content farms it has, or hating it for just how popular it is, but it's like, come on, those aren't actual problems in the show, what the hell do you want them to do about it? If you legitimately let stuff like that ruin your relations with media, then you need to grow the hell up. Go get actual problems. But I think Digital Circus' success is really important for the indie animation scene. With so many studios nowadays seeing animation as disposable or only for kids or just not meant to produce it, it's important that animation fans show how much they truly care about the medium. They should take the situation in their own hands. Animation is hard, expensive, and is very time consuming, and I have nothing but respect for those who try to do it all themselves and with small studios and teams. It's a miracle that so many of these do finish, become completed, and get to be seen by millions. So many of these projects with the passion, imagination, and the urge for the medium to expand past the stereotype given to it so much. And the fact that so many of these are popping up so frequently nowadays is amazing. And hopefully, it shows the studios that there is a demand for it, and there's a demand for creators to make their passions a reality. Audiences like to be challenged and given something new. And hopefully, the medium can change for the better. And I think the huge success of the Amazing Digital Circus can be incredibly important to it. At the time I'm writing, no official word has been made if it's going to a full production. But the amount of views, love, and attention it's gotten even over a month later, so there's still a demand for it. And I think that's great. So please support however you can. Watch it, share it, talk about it, buy the merch I really want to, and hell, support the other indie animated projects. The ones you love. Tell the creators how much you love it, share it, and support it however you can. These creators give their passion to you, and you need to give your passion back. Because animation is for everyone, and that's beautiful. But what am I saying? Of course the Amazing Digital Circus is going to be picked up. I mean, it's far too popular not to, with 136 million views and counting. I mean, I know there could be other problems with the budget, or maybe internal conflicts, or creative disputes, or any other problems with production, especially going to also be producing murder drones, but, you know, that's not going to happen. It's gotta be a full series. I mean, I gotta see how this all ends. It's gotta be picked up, right? Right? Please? Please?